Hi everyone, welcome back to your astrological, well this one's it's an eclipse forecast. So we have a partial lunar eclipse coming in on September 17th at 25, almost 26 degrees of Pisces. And then we have a solar eclipse October 2nd coming in at 10 degrees of Libra. So these eclipses, they come in pairs usually twice a year, and they'll set the energy for the next 6 months. So I wanted to check it out and have you with me. Okay, hold on. I'll be right back and bring you over my table. Okay, so focus with me over here first. Both of these are the 4th of July, our independence chart. And the full moon coming in, now this one's a partial full moon, so it shouldn't be as intense. But it starts on September 17th this year. I set all of these charts for, and I have the Constitution charts underneath these, so I'll look at that too. It's really interesting. But I set up them all for Washington, D.C. But, the transits would flow into the houses of the inner chart anyway, so I probably could have set it for any time zone and be the same. Well, I'm sure I could have. But I put it for Washington, D.C. just because I feel that's appropriate. So the deal is with eclipses is, they happen every 6 months, or about every 6 months, around the nodes of the moon, the transiting nodes. You see how the nodes are here and here, south node, north node. And this one's, it's kind of far off, but it's close enough. That's just the way it works sometimes. And that's why this one's a partial lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipses are always full moons. Solar eclipses are always new moons. And they last for the 6 months, up to 6 months following. So this one will be in effect until March 13th, 2025. And, of course, the new moon will be March 29th, 2025. So we're well beyond the election. And this one, now full moons, so remember, here's the moon here and opposing the sun. That's what is a full moon. So 25 degrees, 40 minutes Virgo is where the sun will be that day. And the moon comes in at 25 degrees Pisces, 40 minutes for both of those. Now, when we're talking about full moons, we just have to remember that it's an earthly phase. The full moon is at the point that it's waning, then it's in the air phase. And it's known as like the human phase, being very, very human. And there's fulfillment, there's completion of something, there's a culmination. Or sometimes it comes as just like the inability to go on with what you were doing previously, like in our personal lives. But it's, we're learning, through relationships. We're learning through our social alliances and through society. But there is a real focus on relationship. So that's kind of one of the hallmarks of a full moon. So sometimes too, now with all the lunar eclipses being full moons, there's going to be something to release or be very aware of. For us personally, like projects can come into fullness, or it can be powerful in bringing people and things and events, to us. For the USA, I think this is about the people, the majority of the people anyway, needing to release something and hold on to our democracy. The something, I think, is the tyrant, with his Project 2025, trying to get back into the White House because it keeps him out of prison, out of jail. So, but I think with this one, we really have cause for celebration, and this time it's Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And especially thinking, remember the moon relates to women and the public. So, we're looking at political astrology. We're thinking of the mood of the public. Oh, and I have already done Kamala's eclipse astrology and her transits, solar return, progressions and solar arcs, like the whole 9 yards. I think it's about 100, or what am I saying, 100? It's about an hour and 40 minutes, I think, is that video. And I'll do my best to remember to link it below. If I forget, just yell at me and I'll get it in there. Or drop me a note, a comment. You can do it in all caps. It's okay. So anyway, focusing in on this chart. Now, the way eclipses go, I mean, we could look at all these other transits, and I do have some notes here, but I'm just going to stick with the bigger planets to make comments. But you can see we've got a, Ceres Aries lineup here, or Ceres Eris lineup. And this is, the courage of the women and their reproductive rights. That's come full circle. But, the Ceres gets around the zodiac all the way around in only 4 years. So, but it's important that it's a conjunction, though. And then Pluto, of course, only makes it around the chart between 243 to 248 years. And remember when we had our Pluto return, right, 27 degrees Capricorn, and in our independence chart, it was Pluto retrograde. We will have Pluto, well, as of September 17th, Pluto is at 29 degrees. It has retrograded back from Aquarius into that 29th, that nth degree, that anaretic, very intense degree, where important factors really, really play into the the whole thing. But the deal is, with Pluto transiting through our second house, no matter what degree it's at, this would be the United States values. Like, what do we really truly value? And with the South Node being in Aquarius, well, at the time, July 4th, 1776, we really, really, really valued our independence from Britain, right? From taxation without representation. So there we are. And Pluto will cross over our South Node, which is, our past and the foundation of, the focus of power in our chart. It's like that well of power, which we always balance out with the North Node too. And the North Node was in courageous Leo. But anyway, Pluto will make it to 6 degrees of Aquarius on March 18th, 2027. And then it's going to retrograde back and forth, but still be within orb until September 21st, 2028. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. So focusing in now just on the full moon, well, we can see that it's within 3 degrees. I'm not going to count Saturn here, but it's serious times before the moon hitting Saturn and then crossing over. But there's 10 degrees of separation there. But right here, look at this tight orb. This is 3 degrees. That's pretty darn tight. So we want to consider Neptune in this mix, because it's also opposing. We've already had our Neptune opposition. Neptune's retrograding back, it's been in retrograde, but it's only going to go back into 27 degrees. It's not going to go any further than that before it goes direct, and then tries to make it into, well, it won't try, it'll make it into Aries on March 30th of 2025. But you can see it's only at 28 degrees here. So it's going to take some time. Now, so the deal with Neptune, when we mix the full moon with Neptune, we're dealing with, again, like I said, with the moon, it has to do with our needs, what we can attach to, what we want to connect with, what we intuitively know is the right way to go. The moon's all about nurturing. It's about women. It's about the public. And it's about our homes. It's like home, body, psyche, soul. And then bringing in Neptune, well, Neptune's all about unity consciousness, in the highest levels of spirit. Now, Venus is unity consciousness as well, but that's more personal unity. And you can see we were born with this Cancer stellium here, and then Cancer is ruled by the moon, and Cancer is all about home, hearth, family, safety, security, our homeland. So there's a connection here, even though, I'm not focusing too much on it, but bringing in Neptune. So here we are with the possibility for unity consciousness, and we've already gone past our Neptune opposition. So I believe there has been quite a breakthrough, but we have some people at one end of the polarity which have to do with being grifted upon. And it has to do with being cut off and all over the place and in a cycle of a vicious circle, being victimized and not really knowing. And but they also won't step up and take self-responsibility for whatever's going on inside of them, and they're being ran, literally, in their heads by a crazy person who's demented and in the early stages, maybe to I think probably early stages of Alzheimer's. And he's running on fear and fascism and hatred. So we have some people in that loop, and then we have others who are discerning, right? Because here we are, our natal USA Sibley chart. Well, even when we get to the, I think 11 years later, I think Neptune's still I'm pretty sure I could be wrong when I get to the next chart. I'll look, but it's either going to be in Virgo or Libra. So anyway, but Neptune's a big factor in this chart, in these two charts here. So with Neptune natally coming in the 9th house, so here we are, 9th house, courts of law. 9th house, our belief system. 9th house has to do with actually religion with some people. But bottom line, it's like our philosophy towards life. So we came in with, there was, it sucked then, honestly. Women weren't factored into any of this equation. And even though they were, kind of prodded, the framers were prodded, but they blew it off. And, you can see 27 degrees Aquarius. Well, tomorrow the full moon will be 27 degrees Aquarius when, and so it'll be conjunct the moon of the USA independent chart, and this is when the DNC starts. So there's that. I think that's phenomenal. Now, the moon would come around to this point once a month, but to have it be full, that's pretty, I don't even know how long it would take, or, how many times that's happened. I doubt it would be more than a handful, or, a dozen or more, somewhere in there maybe. But anyway, that's just kind of a little interesting factor there. And then here we have, Kamala, born just right before a full moon, but she is in her full moon phase. Her progressed full moon is her progressed lunar phase is at the full cycle, the full phase. So that's phenomenal as well. There's some synchronicities here. So back to Neptune here. Now, Neptune and Virgo. Virgo is all about trying to bring some order from chaos. In the highest levels, it's about divine order. And we came in with Neptune in the 3rd decan. So this is a blossoming, like we're trying to blossom some divine order out of the chaos that we were in. And now with transiting Neptune, having opposed natal Neptune, but now there's a full moon coming in, so the sun is shining a spotlight on this opposition here, right? So the whole vibe has to do with, we have to add Pisces into the mix now, and Pisces in the highest levels has to do with devotion and sometimes sacrifice, but we've evolved so much as a society now. there still are wars, and we still have the military because we can't, we have to have protection. But for the most part, I can't really vibe into immigration when I see the sign of Pisces, because that's, Pisces rules immigration. And so that's a major factor in this mix at this point in our evolution. So, yeah. Now, Pisces, Neptune takes 164 years to get all the way around the chart. So it has made it around once, and now we're at that second, right? We've had our first Pluto return, but this is like once and a half. So anyway, Neptune opposing itself will bring through confrontations and then hopefully a breakthrough. But I can't say we're totally there yet, even though we're at, what is this, about 6 degrees apart. So from its return. But anyway, just to focus in on the houses now, which is really important. So like I was saying before, ninth house courts of law, ninth house belief system. And so now the sun is shining and asking us to discern, like, what do we really believe in? What do we want? What is it that we really want? And what will we work hard for? Virgo is all about hard work. Virgo is, this beautiful sign of discernment and discrimination and, learning things, but Gemini is as well. Ruled by Mercury, so the ninth house is ruling Mercury. Mercury's up here, transiting, because the Sun and Mercury never go too far apart, or Mercury stays pretty close to the Sun. So anyway, with the opposition of the full moon coming in the third house, now the third house will bring through decisions and communications, and again, learning. We kind of have to put, even though our third house here is ruled by Pisces, well, Aquarius and Pisces, so we would say Uranus and Neptune rule this house. But it's also the Gemini house. The third house is, a Mercury-ruled house. So we have to combine all of those, all that energy. So we're going to be making the decision to vote. Mercury rules the vote. The vote would be a third house phenomenon. But a ninth house as well, right? Because decisions, we're making legal decisions. So there's this natural, a natural polarity going on here that I really do like seeing. So that's what's happening for the full moon lunar eclipse. Now, then 2 weeks later, if we come over here and look at this chart. Oh, wait, you know what? Did I speak to the third decan? I did. So it doesn't matter whether it's the full moon or the sun or Neptune on either end. We're talking, in that blossoming stage. So something's, really coming through. Now, over here with the new moon solar eclipse, this one is October 2nd, 2:49 p.m. Eastern Time. And this one will be in effect from October 2nd through March 29th of next year. This one is in Libra, so 10 degrees Libra. Mercury's conjunct there. And the whole stellium, the whole Libra stellium is right over our natal Saturn, which is really interesting, I think, because Saturn in Libra in the 10th house. So Saturn is the government. The 10th house relates to the government. Saturn is rules, regulations, external authority. 10th house, same thing. But it's how, we participate with society. So natally, we decided, when the framers decided, but, we were all there with them, right? Except they ignored us women. And you know what? On another funny little note here, with Cancer being a feminine sign here, it kind of makes me wonder, like, I bet there was hell to pay at home. And I'm thinking they were probably like, oh, honey, we just can't get away. Or no, whatever. Women didn't even have the right to vote then. So there's that. Okay, but so with Saturn being in the second decan, and so the first decan goes 0 to 9 degrees. The second decan goes, and the first decan is like we're developing a foundation. The second decan is 10 to 19 degrees where we're learning lessons, and I call it the frick around and find out stage because I can't say the other word that I really would say out loud here, but you know what I'm talking about. So Saturn, the planet of limitations and testing, and it's in the sign of relationship and society, right? So Saturn that wants to control and wants to deny and rules our government, it rules duality as well. It crystallizes things, it create structure and strong foundations, but then it'll teach us something later on too. And Saturn also can relate to our burdens and our fears, like I said, reality testing. We're basically like learning through trial and error, which is a very Virgo trait as well. But yeah, it's kind of, it's like hard work and labor. So we came in with that connection. I see Libra as being the sign of connection. It's all about relationship. It stimulates relationship. It's how we want to engage. It's how we will literally like cross that bridge, put ourselves in the middle of that bridge to meet someone else. Two things coming together. So, and we're creating more opportunities for everyone. It's about win-win situations. So this is how we participate with the world. This is the USA in relationship with the rest of the world. Saturn is, very much a worldly planet. And then again, back to the 10th house, it's our worldly connections. It's our success. It's our achievement. It's our, it's the way we express ourselves out in the world, the way we connect with, literally the way we connect with people in society all over the world. And so with this second decan up here, with this stellium, and Mercury again ruling the vote, and people all over the world are, they're worried about us, right? And I feel like with this stellium up here, right on our natal Saturn, I really feel like we're definitely at another one of those learning lessons, the frick around, find out phase. And if people don't vote for, again, Libra, justice, fairness, equality, especially while the south node of the moon has been since, oh my goodness, I can't even remember the last dates when the nodal polarity shifted from Scorpio to Taurus back to Aries and Libra. But so the nodes go backwards. So we've had a long time. We've had over a year, I'm sure over a year, of the south node being in justice-minded, relationship-oriented, coming together phase. And that's a good thing. And now not Neptune, what am I saying? Venus rules our 10th house because it's Libra on both ends here, right? Both house cusps, 10th and 11th are both Venus. And Venus just transited through that 10th house is now, by the time, we get to October, Venus will have gone through this house. And this is really good. Venus going through the 10th house brings in that connection to harmony, to unity, to women, to making comparison values that bring through what we want. It's all about our self-worth. It's about the feminine. So we'll see how that goes. And the new moon solar eclipse. So the new moon is it's a fiery phase, the new phase of the moon. Whenever we're there, So every time we're going to have a full moon, a new moon, just think of the fire to plant some seeds. It's the new phase when it finally comes through is something emerging. We're starting a brand new cycle, where for at least that next month we'll be experiencing something probably new. But when it's an eclipse, it's going to last for 6 months. So we might be kind of charging forward in our personal lives when there's a new moon. We might be charging forward with not a whole lot of external light, but you have your inner light for guidance. But it's a time of wanting freedom. It's a time to try different things out. It's a time of feeling maybe kind of driven to initiate something new. And again, for our government. So, okay. So I feel complete with that. So now let's look at the Constitution chart. So here we are 11 years later, right? 1787. So September 17th is when the full moon comes in this chart. Like I said, 10:34 p.m. Nothing's different there, so you guys can read those same notes that I had before. But USA Constitution was formed or signed into effect, into agreement, September 17th, 1787, 4 p.m. about somewhere in there, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So, this is where the framers wanted to limit some of the government's powers, and then we have the 3 branches of government are put into place. So it's trying to establish some forms of justice and peace. They didn't want. I think they were coming from the fear of the states coming back at them. But then they gave. Thank goodness they gave states power, but they wanted to create more fairness in the government that was balanced with enough power to act on a big national level, but not so boldly that it would threaten, like the fundamental rights of people in all the states. So it's basically establishing the rules for each part of the government. And they were future-oriented there, which you can see with Aquarius on the ascendant, Uranus ruling Aquarius, and then natal Uranus over here in the 6th, in Cancer no less. So it's that, waking up or big change, great change to the homeland in a way that would eventually bring through more power for women, but they didn't know it at the time. Or for slaves, at that matter. These guys were all, slave masters. They didn't want to give up their slaves. There was that. So that didn't, of course, we had to get to the 1800s before the Civil War came through. But anyway, focusing here, this the full moon comes in this chart. You can see still, the third decan, of course. The sun's at 25 degrees Virgo, just to reiterate. Moon's 25 degrees Pisces, same thing. Still, these transits down here are what we're all going through on September 17th. So same thing as before, going through the independent chart of 4th of July independence. Same thing, third decan in the blossoming phase. But so the important thing just to focus here, because I don't have, in any of these charts, we didn't have any squares. The other rules that I use with the aspects, well, I only do about usually 4 degrees, but if there's an important planet, I'll go a little further out. No, it would be farther, further in my thinking and farther out in distance. So, but when it comes to the squares, I don't do trines and sextiles. I learned from Bernadette Brady, and I just have learned to trust her techniques over the years. And she does a tighter orb than, she only does like 2 to 3 degrees. I'll go 4, maybe a little bit more. But when it comes to the squares to any square, well, she doesn't do sextiles or trines or any other aspects except for squares, but only to an luminary, so only to a sun or a moon. And you can see we have it conjunct our sun, in our constitution chart. So that's really, really important. This is really a really tight orb, 1 degree. Just a little over 1 degree. And what the deal is there, or no, a little less than 1 degree, I should say. No square to the moon, no square to the sun, but the conjunction just like really ramps it up. So by the time, at the same time we're having the USA, I probably should have just maybe did both charts together. I don't know. I thought I kind of was playing around with which way to do it. Do I do the USA Constitution chart full moon at the same time as the USA Independence Sibley chart? But then I thought, there's 2 different charts to look at and you guys wouldn't be able to focus in. So that's why I left it this way. But it is important to note that same things happening in both of these charts. So you could imagine like the transits are going on, right? The eclipse is happening, and then imagine you have it going on in your chart, and then you have it going on in your partner's chart, or a friend's chart, or a child's chart, or whatever. You know what I mean? So here we are with it now in the USA Constitution chart. And it's coming in the 8th house, but it's triggering the 7th house moon natally. So here we are with that 7th house being, here's the natal focus being on relationship, being on allies. This was all about having more allies. This was about having agreements. And it's also, the 7th house can be about lawsuits. So they were thinking along, the lines of legal terms. What we have to do with the 7th house, even though in this chart it's ruled by the sun in Leo, but traditionally the 7th house is ruled by Libra and Venus is here. There's that sun conjunct Venus, and actually not conjunct, it's about 9 degrees. Yeah, that's further out. But there's a stellium here in Virgo. And again, that trying to bring some order, bring in some divine order is the important thing here. Trying to bring in more value to how we would operate and bring in more allies. And so, again, here we have, the lead up to the vote with Mercury, because Mercury rules voting. And then with the sun, with this full moon having the sun here, the moon down here in the 2nd house, I'll talk to that in a second, but the sun in the 8th house is all about our resources with other people. It's the house of joint financial interests. It's the house of transformation. So that's really important there. The spotlight is there, and then the moon, the mood of the people, is over here, and we're like, we don't want to be victimized anymore. We don't want to be grifted upon anymore. A lot of us never were, but maybe more and more people are waking up. The way I'm seeing, especially this chart, both of these charts here, I get the feeling, because, it's... this one's a full moon in Pisces, but then when we get to Libra over here, I'm feeling like this is the power of Kamala and Tim Walz to, the Harris-Walz ticket, to bring more people into alignment with what really matters. Right? I mean, again, with this full moon, the full moon being about like human beings, right? Because that's what a full moon is all about at that phase. It's that phase of thinking in terms of humanity. And then Aquarius, being the sign of humanity, is over here on the ascendant. and that's the chart ruler. Uranus is the chart ruler. Like I said, Uranus came through over here in the 6th house of service. But then it's also important to notice that Pluto and Saturn were close. Not that, almost 10 degrees there, but it's still close enough. And in the 1st house, no less, right? I mean, the 1st house, like our identity as a nation. And what do we do with that? So, 2nd house, the full moon coming in the 2nd house of this chart. 2nd house is our values, most of all. I mean, in personal level, it's our money, it's our tangible assets, our liquid assets, our self-worth. But bottom line, in a nation's chart, we're talking, or in this constitutional chart, we're talking, what do we really value? Well, because we've got Pisces and Aries ruling this house, we're dealing with Neptune and Mars ruling this house. So Neptune would bring in, and especially in Pisces, it brings in that double whammy of immigrants, right? Once we established our United States in the U.S., the Sibley chart, then here we are 11 years later with some rules, and one of the major rules was that we value immigration. And now we have this opposition where some people just want to keep them all out and make up all these lies, that acting like well, here, look it up if you want. I mean, but I'm here to tell you that no one without a citizenship can vote, but that's not what that's not what the other side will tell you. They lie. So, okay, so now I'm going to go over here with the new moon solar eclipse, October 2nd, 2:49 p.m. Eastern Time. And again, same chart, but it's coming in the 8th house. So again, there's that 8th house that the sun is in. It didn't hasn't changed there from over to this chart, but here we are with the new moon solar. So every solar eclipse is a new moon coming in at 10 degrees. Mercury's at 11, that 1 degree apart. Again, fantastic, because Mercury ruling the vote. All in Libra. It's about fairness, justice, and equality. And it's 7 degrees away from natal Neptune, which, I kind of just had to throw that in there. Even though it's far out, well, it's kind of far out as far as an orb, but it's still there. And it's still, in that 8th house as to, again, our resources. Our resources, our joint financial interests. And then again, what do we value? And immigration, So there's that. But when it comes to the vote and setting this up, because this is an effect it starts before before November 5th, and it lasts through March 29th, 2025, when we'll have the next eclipse. And so this has everything to do with coming together, with the power of the people coming together, the power of fairness, justice, and equality coming together. And I keep hearing Kamala say, we're in this together. I keep seeing Joyce Vance's newsletter, she signs off with, we're all in this together. And there we are. I mean, I don't know what else to say, honestly. So, being that this is the house of transformation, I think I'm just going to go with that. I feel like this new moon solar eclipse will be planting seeds of transformation. And I feel like there's going to be, a deep well of resources. And then because Venus rules Libra, Venus rules this house, we could say Mercury, Venus, and Pluto rule this house. That's a lot in there, right? But bring in some divine order, with including the feminine and transformational. Pluto's all about transformation. Pluto rules Scorpio. So there's that. And then that new moon energy, bringing through also power into the second house of our values. So I think I'll close up with just saying that it's important to notice that Pluto's transiting through the 12th house of this chart. The 12th house can be completions and new beginnings. It won't be until, Pluto crosses or gets to the that past that 6-degree point over the south node of the other chart before it'll hit the ascendant of this chart, but that's still, it's power. Pluto's power, and it's all about who has it and what do you do with yours? I tend to see like all of life being a power management issue. Now, Uranus down here being the great awakener and the change agent is important to have. It's at 26 degrees now and it's retrograde, but it's only going to retrograde back to, I think it's 23 degrees before it'll go direct, and that won't happen until next year either. But yeah, that'll happen in January of next year. Yeah, and it'll be 23. So it's only going to go back a little bit. But right now, it's within 2 degrees, almost, actually, yeah, now 28:55, 26:51. It's within 2 degrees of the IC. So the IC in our charts, in anyone's chart, is it's a past life. Well, did our Constitution ever have a past life? I don't know. I don't think so. But anyway, it's like a resource. It's a point of resource. It's a well of wisdom. And at that late degree, almost the anaretic degree, it's almost at the 29th degree, the last degree of Taurus, we're talking self-preservation. We're talking ownership and security and the principles of which we are faithful to. So Uranus there is waking things up. I mean, it's shaking things up. It's asking us to, what do we really want? Do we want democracy, or do we want to, do we want to leave and go to another country or something? I mean, what is this? What are we going? What's worth fighting for? Without violence, please, of course, but it's there. And Saturn in the first house for quite some time, and Neptune in the second. I spoke to Neptune in the second over here, so I'll just go with Saturn. Again, testing reality. Like, who are we really, through the first house? Who are we as a nation, really? So we'll find out, come Rovember, I should say. So, okay, that's it. I am done. I hope you guys are having a really good weekend, what's left of it. And big hugs as always. Bye.